Welcome into Broncos Beat. I'm Matt Boyer in for Alexis Perry this week. Still got a great show and a great panel for you. Our guests today, you see them right there on your screen. Mike Klis of 9 News, Benjamin Allbright of KOA, and Cecil Lammey of 104.3 The Fan. Guys, we appreciate your time. I know everyone is in full post-draft recovery mode, so let's get right into it. We'll go around the horn here. Mike, I want to start with you. What do you think, or your initial impressions are of John Elway's 10th draft weekend?
Well, they definitely had the surprise in the second round, which I think kind of pulled the whole draft together, which was about speed at the receiver positions. You got Jeudy, who's a route runner. He runs fast enough. KJ Hamler with the speed at the receiver. And then Allbright at the tight end in the fourth round, who's very similar skill set with Noah Fant. They had 2 surprises there. But that was the essence of the draft, was to build up the home run hitters at the skill positions. There's no doubt about it. The Broncos went into this offseason thinking the Chiefs score 30-plus a game. We're only scoring 17 points a game. Got to somehow close the gap, and that's what they addressed both in free agency earlier with Gordon and now definitely with the draft and Jeudy, Hamler, and Allbright.
Ben, we'll go to you next.
We talk a lot about best player available and need, and I felt like this draft was a perfect blend of both. The Broncos had a need to add speed and inject speed onto this offense, and they did it. They got a backside slant guy in Jeudy, who's great after the catch of the ball in his hands. They got a speedster that rolls coverage in KJ Hamler. And then you went out and got Allbright as Drew Lock's binky back in college. And he's a guy that puts up great numbers. He's more than a workout number, as he told us in an interview right after he got picked. He's angry about that. People looking at him as just a workout number. He's motivated. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. And, honestly, of all the picks that they had here, the only one that I really kind of shrugged at a little bit was Justin Strnad, but he could develop into something. He's a highlight reel hitter, just needs to be more consistent with his tackling.
Yeah, let's talk about those first 2 days of the draft. To me, that's where they really stood out on the third day as well. But those first 2 days, you got the best receiver in the draft. There is no question, hands down. You got a guy that compares favorably to Odell Beckham Jr. I compared his route running to Amari Cooper. He's not as big as Cooper, but still, you got a guy that can cut a rug that can get open. He's not a number 2. He's another number 1 to go opposite of Courtland Sutton. Absolutely fantastic. The Hamler pick, I take issue with only not because of the player, right? He drops too many passes. He led the FBS in drops last year with 12. But it's just the timing of it. There were other players, Logan Wilson specifically, that I thought maybe they would go for and then get a wide receiver in the third round. But if you were just to tell me the first 4 picks are going to be Jeudy, Hamler, Ojemudia, and Lloyd Cushenberry, my God, top-rated center in this class. If you just said those were the 4 picks to begin the draft, I'd be like, fantastic. That's A++. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. They certainly told us what they think of certain positions, including inside linebacker where Logan Wilson played. But, absolutely crushed it. What a great way. And Allbright, I was texting yesterday with someone, let's just say in the know and close to that program, super excited about this move. And Allbright would have been a top 50 pick last year. I think, Ben, you'd back me up on that. Like, had he come out with Drew Lock, he'd have been taken in the first 2 rounds, maybe even early third round. Just a fantastic value pick.
Mike, you and I talked on Friday morning, and you told me don't be surprised if the Broncos target a wide receiver on day 2. And I thought, oh, okay. But right out of the chute, back-to-back, I didn't think that was possible. And I know a lot of Bronco fans were thinking, wait, we just got Jerry Jeudy. What was the thinking going back-to-back wideouts?
Yeah, I thought they would go – I knew they liked Hamler, but I thought Hamler might have gone off the board after they got Jeudy in the first round. I thought they'd go Hamler if they wound up with Ken Murray or Isaiah Simmons fell, or Patrick Queen, who turned out to be really the guy that they fell in love with, the Broncos did, as they went into the draft. But they did go back-to-back, and the feeling is they needed not 1, but they needed 2. And they needed a speed component. Jeudy was the solid – he's the route runner. He is fast, but he's not going to take a double team away from Courtland Sutton. They're going to match up one-on-one. KJ Hamler is the guy that's going to keep the safeties back. They fell in love with the speed. Offensive firepower. Look, it's about the Chiefs, guys. They scored 39 points a game in the postseason. The Broncos are 3 touchdowns a game away from that. They had to close the gap, and I liked it. I liked that they went back-to-back firepower.
Ben, you've been trying to make Orange and Blur happen for months. Was this the speed that you dreamed of?
Yeah, that's it. KJ Hamler runs the same 40 time as Henry Ruggs, if we're being honest here. Now, it's straight line 40 times speed. What does that matter in the NFL? But if he can get the sure hands, which Ruggs has and he didn't, that would be so much the better. But, yeah, I think it is. We've been talking since February. Broncos source said, look for 2 receivers in the top 5 picks that they're going to get. I thought that was total validation of that. They come away with 2 right away and 2 good receivers. I mean, you got the speed to threaten that. I'm hoping that Hamler has the Will Fuller effect, and that is that every time Will Fuller steps on the field, Deshaun Watson's quarterback rating goes up 20 points. It doesn't matter if Fuller's the target or not. He forces defenses to adjust. He dictates coverage, and I think that's what it is. I think that's going to help open everything. All his speed's going to open everything up for everybody else. You're going to get a lot of one-on-ones. Teams were covering Cortland Sutton 3-on-1 last year. I can't imagine how bad he's going to dominate them one-on-one.
This is the best group of weapons that Pat Shurmur has ever had, hands down, as an offensive coordinator or as a head coach. So how does he utilize it? He's going to have to be incredibly creative, but the Broncos certainly gave him the tools to do that.
Well, real quick, guys, how exciting is it to have an offense full of skill position players that all run 4.69 or quicker, and that 4.69 is the quarterback?
Yeah, he can run it really. I mean, for all these weapons, there's 2 things that they got now, and they're loaded, they're overloaded, they're stacked at the skill position. But there's 2 things about it. One, it's an awfully young group, and what happens with youth is it's good to be young, but young tends to be inconsistent, and there's growing pains that go along with that. And Locke, for all of this, Locke is the key. Locke has to be the real deal. And they built this team up almost like they had, Peyton Manning in his prime at quarterback. They're building this team up thinking that this is all Drew Lock needs to be a Pro Bowler. And maybe that is true. So Drew Lock still remains, no doubt about it, the key to the Broncos' success. And he's definitely got all the tools to do it. But it is going to be a young group. And it's good that they got, instead of Scangarello and T.J. McCartney, as promising as they were as coaches, it's good that they went with a lot more veteran experience at the coaches and Pat Shurmur and Mike Shula.